Hey, what's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm going to talk about 12 ways you can survive and thrive as a small business or even as an individual once this whole pandemic passes. So let me just start by saying that this is the first time I've ever experienced anything like this in my life, and especially the first time in my business's life. So this is definitely a unique situation, probably a once in every 10-year type of situation. So I'm going through it just like you are as a small business, and I have a process in place to make sure that not only I survive this situation, but also thrive after this situation has passed us. And that brings me to my first tip, which is to really put things in perspective about this whole situation that's going on. And when we really do put it in perspective, there have been things that have been far worse in humanity, and even pretty recently in the last couple hundred years. When we look at World War II, or we even look at World War I, you can even go to Vietnam, you can go to 9/11, and there have been similar situations that have been very huge, and every single time humanity has made it through these. Now, not all of humanity, but humanity in general has made it through these situations. So we just got to put these things in perspective. We will get through this. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're the person that has to lead, because entrepreneurs are very resourceful and they will figure out a way to keep their businesses going and figure out a way to get through this whole situation. And number two, you need to think about the opportunities that are going to be available when this whole thing is over, because really, we know that this is really going to impact the economy at a pretty severe level, because when you just shut down pretty much every business, it's going to have a profound effect on the economy. It doesn't take an economist to figure that out. It's very simple that when we shut down the economy, it's not going to produce revenue for the government. It's not going to produce revenue for these businesses. So it's going to cause some issues in the short term, but in the long term, we will rise out of it and we will be much better. But in the short term, it's going to hurt for a little bit. And when we're at the bottom of this whole situation, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for your business or even for yourself. So one thing you can do is you can think about and start researching how you can acquire websites that are likely to go expire and businesses that are likely going to fail in this particular scenario. And so for me personally, as an SEO, I'm going to be looking for expired domains of businesses that are either going to shut their doors or are just going to let their domains expire. And the reason for that from an SEO perspective is if we can pick up these domains that have a lot of authority, we can probably get them for a very cheap price. And then we can use those domains to drive authority to our existing sites or our existing properties. The second big opportunity is going to be the reduction of ad costs. So when things like this happen, what tends to happen is businesses will stop spending on advertising, marketing, and they're going to be looking for all kinds of ways to cut costs. And so what is going to happen is all of those ad costs are going to decline dramatically, which gives you an opportunity to start advertising and start getting in front of people at a very low cost. And so to put this in a different perspective, let's say you were investing in the stock market. We know that the stock market is down, if we're looking at the S&P 500, it's down about 30% from its all-time high. Well, most people who are investing in stocks are looking for that bottom. They're looking for those opportunities to buy into companies at a very low price relative to where it was. And so we can do that same thing with advertising. We can find opportunities in advertising opportunities and pay for ads at a much lower cost. And so you really should, if you have enough budget, even if it's just $5 a day, put that into ads, because those costs are going to be much lower and you're going to be able to acquire customers at a much cheaper price. And you think about it, this is the most critical time to be acquiring customers, when things are going to get tough. So you have an opportunity with advertising to really get customers at a low cost when this thing finally gets towards the bottom. And the third opportunity that you're going to need to think about, and this particularly applies to people who actually own small businesses, is that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be needing work, are going to be needing jobs. And so you can be the person that comes in and gives them those jobs. And it's going to be tough for a while. I mean, a lot of people out of work after this is all done. But as a small business owner, we can really help society and help our own business by bringing people in who need work. And the good news is that a lot of people who are going to need jobs they're going to be hungry. They're going to want to work hard. They're going to want to help you grow your business. They're going to want to help you push your movement forward. So this is a great opportunity for you to hire. And especially in times like this, when people will be willing to take jobs for a little bit less than they normally would, because they need to put food on the table. So if you have anything in your budget to hire, this is a great opportunity to start hiring. And now the third tip, which I believe is the most important tip of this entire video. So if you get anything out of this, please remember this one. And this is actually something I learned a long time ago when I was first getting started. And that's, you need to become more valuable. And so that is the most important thing that you can do, because the value that you can add to the marketplace is directly proportionate to the amount of money and wealth that you're going to be able to build. So as you become more valuable as an individual, as you add more skills, as your skills get better and you become more effective and you become more efficient, you become much more valuable in the marketplace. And as a result, you can get paid more. But more importantly, when you have those skills, you have a skill set that allows you to survive in tough times like this. If you don't have a skill set, that becomes much more difficult. So the most important thing you can do at this time is try to build up your skills, become more valuable as an individual, and that will help you have the confidence when things like this do happen every 5 to 10 years or whatever it ends up being. This is the most important thing that you can do. So if you're wondering how to become more valuable, well, you can start with very cheap things. You can get books. Books are by far the cheapest way to become more valuable and start learning stuff. And then obviously, joining a training course. Gotch SEO Academy, I just completely revised the whole training course so that it's more affordable for people to join all around the world. So I did that because I believe that learning SEO or learning how to grow your business shouldn't be super expensive, and you shouldn't have to go into debt to figure out how to learn. So we completely restructured that. So if you do have anything in your budget, we highly recommend joining, because it is a great opportunity to learn how to do SEO, which is an incredibly valuable skill in this marketplace. So number 4, you need to add more value to the marketplace. And so the more value you add to the marketplace, the more that it establishes you as an authority. And number 2, it will actually build trust for people. And adding value is not super hard. Just take your experience and create something for free for people. And so like right now, this video is 100% free. I'm just explaining things based on my experience running a business for 7 years. That's all I'm doing right now. And it's completely free. You can do the same. Take your expertise, take your skills, and just share that with people. You can do that on YouTube. You can do that on your blog. You can start to build an email list. You can go on TikTok. You can go on Instagram. Anywhere where you can spread your message, it's 100% free to do. Anyone can do it. And so think of ways that you can add value. And everyone in this world has a way to add value. And so going back to the previous point of becoming more valuable, the more valuable you become, the much easier it is for you to add value and help others who are not at the level that you're at currently. So number 5 is adjust to supply and demand. So as I mentioned before, a lot of companies are going to start reducing their ad budgets, reducing their marketing budgets, reducing their SEO budgets. All of that will happen. But one thing that you can do to combat that is you need to adjust to supply and demand. So if there is less demand for these services, then maybe you should consider reducing your prices so that you can combat that reduction in demand. And that's going to require you to remove your ego from the situation. So sure, many of us are extremely qualified to do what we do, and we probably deserve high rates to be paid for what we do because of the experience, but times are not always going to be like that. And we need to adjust based on how the economy is and based on how supply and demand is. So right now, we know that demand is going to go low for SEO, for any outsourced type of advertising or marketing. So we need to adjust our business models for the situation. And that may take you having to reduce your prices a little bit. So I'm not saying in every situation you should do that, but it is something you need to consider if you want to continue to compete in the marketplace where people are going to be spending less money, especially businesses who are looking to cut costs. So you need to think about that. So number 6 is to start low capital intensive businesses. So even if you have your own business right now, or you're trying to get into business, you're trying to become an entrepreneur, no matter what the situation is, there are many business models that do not require a ton of capital. And so the ones that I personally love as far as pretty much anyone can start these types of businesses, is just finding a niche and creating a website in a niche and then monetizing that website through affiliate marketing or ad revenue. And it's super cheap to start a website. In fact, you can get a domain for about $12 per year, and then website hosting you can get for as little as $1 per month. So we're looking at about $24 per year to start a website. So there really is no excuse not to start one. And the only thing that might be holding you back is just not knowing where to go and what direction to go in. But the good news is I actually have a video on my YouTube channel that shows you exactly how to start a niche site from scratch, all the way from finding the niche to qualifying the niche to starting your website and then growing it through search engine optimization. So I have that video 100% free on my YouTube channel. I'll have a link in the bio. But as I said, low capital intensive businesses, that should be your focus right now. And it's not to say that just by starting that, all of a sudden you're going to have enough money to replace your income, but we need to start planting seeds today, because every seed you plant today is going to benefit you in a year from now, 2 years, 3 years. So you need to plant those seeds today. And there is absolutely no reason to be waiting to do that. Now, tip number 7 is to offer more. So if you're an SEO company, you should start looking into ways that you can start offering other complementary services that businesses may need. So for example, I only do SEO. My company only does SEO. But it does make sense for us to start venturing into other areas, because there's going to be a big void that needs to be filled when other businesses are not offering those services anymore. So if you can, start learning these complementary skills and start adding these skills to your business's offerings so that you can start to add value in different ways and start to expand your offerings. But if you only have one offering, it's really going to limit the amount of revenue you can take in, and also it's going to limit the amount of opportunities that you have. So start to expand slowly, start to learn those skills, start to master those skills, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. So look into how to run Facebook ads effectively, look into Google ads, search engine marketing, not so much SEO, and even start looking into web design or web development. Those things are very easy to add as complementary skills. So you should be looking for opportunities to do that. Now, my 8th tip is simply to just do more. Now, I know that's very elementary, but just hear me out for a second, because right now, our minds and everything that's going on right now is completely flooding our minds. So you go on CNN, you go on Fox News, you go on your phone, you look at social media. It's all encompassing. It's all we see is this whole pandemic that's going on. And the problem with that is that that's flooding your mind with all of this stuff that isn't actually going to help you in your life in any way. So my recommendation for you is to increase action and reduce consumption. And because it's very simple, you are not going to get anywhere in your life. You're not going to break out of this current situation unless you act. Action is the thing that fixes everything else. We have to act. We have to do stuff. We have to create stuff. We have to actually do things for our businesses to progress and to break out of this whole situation. And so the more we can consume less and act more, the better we're going to be. And so for me personally, I'm probably more on the extreme side. I completely block all of those websites on my browser. So when I'm on my computer, I can't even access CNN or Fox News or anything. And I actually delete all my social media apps off my phone. And at the end of the day, you consuming more information and more news and more headlines is not going to help you anymore. It's not going to benefit you anymore. In fact, it's probably going to make you have a worse mindset. And so the less you consume, maybe block out an hour per day or 30 minutes per day that you can go and consume and just keep up with things. But the rest of your day should be spent on acting, learning, doing things that are going to benefit you and help you get out of this whole situation. Tip number 9 is to use fear as motivation. So when I was first getting started back in 2013, I was greatly motivated by fear. And it was pretty simple because I had decided to move from California. I had no money. I had no prospects and no clients. And I had just a credit card with a $500 limit. So I decided to move to St. Louis from California, start my business and go all in. And fortunately, my mother-in-law allowed me to live at her house for when I first got there. And I gave myself 30 days to get out of her house and get my own place and have enough clients to be able to afford my own place. And that's exactly what I did. Within 6 months, I was making a 6-figure income. And the reason why I was able to do that is because I was extremely motivated by fear. I didn't want to be in my mother-in-law's house for the rest of my life. I didn't want to continue to use up all of their resources and have them take care of me. I wanted to take control of the situation, and there was a lot of fear in me, and that fear actually stuck with me for the first 1 to 2 years of running my business. And fortunately, fear is something that can cripple a lot of people, but for other people, fear can actually motivate you to act. And so if you're fearful right now, if you're scared, don't retract. Don't go into your shell. You need to use that fear as motivation. You need to use it as an opportunity for you to leverage that feeling as something that's going to force you to act. And so sometimes people need a fire lit under them to actually get going. And so I personally believe fear is a huge motivator. And if you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me say that before, but I do believe fear is a great motivator. So use it as to your advantage. Don't retract. Don't get scared. Don't stop acting. The time to act is now. Use that fear to your advantage. So number 10 is a small tip, but just do your part. Don't hoard a bunch of supplies or hoard a bunch of things, and keep your distance from people. Just do your part to benefit society. We don't need to be hysterical and start hoarding toilet paper and hoarding food. The grocery stores will continue to get food, and we don't need to be scared in that way. And when we start to engage in those behaviors that are selfish in nature, it actually isn't beneficial for the rest of the world. There are people that need food far more than I do. There are people that need supplies far more than I do. So we need to do our part as individuals to try to benefit society. And I'm not trying to get on my high horse here to try to say this to you, but I just think that if we can all just try to do our part in little ways, it can really benefit everyone. And there are people that are likely have things far worse off than you do. So try to step into their shoes for a second. Think about, the situations that they might be in. And if it makes sense for you as someone who might be a little more well off to have a 10-year supply of toilet paper, is probably not really a necessity. And people who could actually use that stuff more than we can, we need to think about those individuals as much as we can. And then number 11 is have a daily routine. So it's super easy in a time like this to just get overwhelmed with all the news and information that's coming in. But at the end of the day, if you have a daily routine that you know that you're going to do, a routine that is designed for you to execute and take action, that is going to be beneficial. And one thing that I'm not going to tell you how to, structure your daily routine, but one thing that I personally do is every single day I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And at a time like this is the smartest thing you can do, because it can be difficult to find things that you're grateful for when maybe you've lost your job, or maybe certain people have passed away in your family, or anything like that. It's very difficult to find things to be grateful for when situations like this arise. But going through that practice of always focusing on what you're grateful for will literally change your life. It was one of the best things I've ever done in my life to do. And it changes your whole perspective. It changes everything. So that's my only recommendation for your daily routine, is at least inject that into your daily routine. It'll make a substantial difference. And then finally, my 12th and final tip is to focus on the stuff in your business that's actually going to produce real revenue and real results. So that's going to be marketing, and that's going to be sales. So those 2 things, that needs to be your focus. That needs to be where all of your energy goes, because that's what's going to be able to actually produce revenue in your business and help you get through this whole thing. So that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to give you my perspective and kind of what I'm thinking about through this whole process. This is my first time experiencing anything like this, so I'm going through it just like you are. But I do know 100% that we will get through this, and I'm very confident that entrepreneurs like yourself and people who are motivated, if you're even watching this, you're probably a motivated individual, are the people that are going to really push this whole thing forward, and we're all going to get through this.